What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Sound Lodge Podcast, also known as the Lodge Podcast.
Happy February 4th.
February 4th.
We just filmed about 10 minutes and forgot to press record.
Yeah. It was only like 4 minutes, so
Yeah.
that's better. But yeah, we are professional technology experts.
Mm-hmm. We got a Jamie over there, and he's running.
Yeah, pull that up, Jamie. Yeah. Jamie, pull that up. Pull up the clip of us talking without the microphones on for 4 minutes straight.
Show the clip, Jamie.
Anyways, yeah, so we don't know how to use microphones, but we were just talking.
But we tell people how to use them on the internet.
Yeah, exactly. I've been doing that ever since I started. I just tell people things that I don't know.
Yeah.
Which is, that's what you got to do.
That's
sometimes.
a lot of it, man.
Yeah.
It's just like...
Pretend you know what you're talking about.
Learning it the day you film the video.
Yeah. Which honestly, that's kind of just a pretty real statement about life in general, is that most people have no idea what they're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And even the people who do have an idea of what they're talking about, who even knows if they're accurate, what they're saying? Because, what is the meaning of life anymore?
What is everything? Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah. That was a movie, right?
It was a pretty good movie.
I didn't see it. But
pretty good movie.
I heard it was good, actually.
It was good. Yeah. Pretty cool.
It's
very
good.
creative. Yeah, life's good, I think.
I can't speak for everybody's life, but my life is okay.
My
right
life is alive. So
yeah,
that's cool.
See, that's the way to look at it,
I'm wearing 2 different socks.
Yeah, see, I didn't even notice,
Patreon gets the feet cam, y'all don't.
Yeah. Patreon got the foot cam, got the toe cam. We're twinkling our toes below the camera, and you can't see it unless you subscribe to the Patreon. So.
The grippers from the legendary Cheezus.
Yeah, we got the grippers out. Yeah, see, that's another good statement about life as well, is that I wouldn't have even noticed that you had 2 different socks on. And I think it's just a testament to that, a lot of the things that you think about yourself, a lot of other people aren't even worried about. You're always going to be your own biggest critic.
It's going to stop you from dropping the music, dropping the videos.
Yeah, or putting on socks, maybe even.
Yeah, but I didn't care.
Yeah, exactly. That's also a good statement about life right there, is that you should just turn everything into a life lesson. Another good life lesson we can take from this. Anyways, yeah, so yesterday, the day before, pretty beautiful weather outside. Today it's pretty gloomy. That's another thing we were talking about while the microphones were not functioning, was that the weather really affects your vibe, your mood, and also like the kind of music and the kind of art you make too. And it's just, when it's gloomy outside, you just don't want to do stuff. It's almost like humans are intertwined with nature, and that's how you're supposed to be.
No, we're not. No. We need to get as disconnected from nature as possible. Yeah. We need to live in concrete boxes.
I agree. So we can break off the connection between our bodies and the electrical current of the earth.
And then we'll start asking questions like, why are we all so unhealthy?
Right.
And so unmotivated?
And I think we shouldn't exercise or like eat healthy or anything like that. And then we'll wonder like, what the heck? What is all this like depression and stuff for? Like, that's weird why we have that. So yeah, I think that's probably the way that we should
I think that's a cool game plan.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to be.
We're in a concrete box right now.
We are in a little concrete box, but I can see a little sliver of the outdoors. So that's all right.
It's unobtainable. It's not even real out there.
Yeah, it's not even real outdoors. We also have a couple fake plants, but a couple real plants as well.
That's real.
I realized I turned away from the microphone, so there's a couple moments I noticed in the podcast when the noise gate will cut off if I'm too quiet.
Yeah,
so I gotta be constantly glued to the microphone.
Go in the editor and turn off the denoiser. in the gate whenever that happens, which kind of sucks. But we need Jamie, man.
Yeah, come on, Jamie. He's over there sleeping behind the desk.
We pay him so much money.
Yeah. We pay him better salary than we make.
Yeah.
But anyways, today in this episode of the podcast, we are going to answer your guys' questions.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun episode. We're gonna really get into kind of our music tastes.
Yeah. This is going to be more of like a personal episode, I guess. We're going to be talking about the kind of stuff that we like, that we're into.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of your guys' questions were aimed towards things that we like, whether it's music or whatever. So we're gonna be talking about some of that today.
we're gonna be getting right into the nitty and the gritty.
We're gonna answer what is our favorite fast food place. Do we like Qdoba or Chipotle?
Yeah. I like dude, I noticed some people commented on our TikTok.
Yeah.
All the comments were just like, bro, we should start a podcast.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you're just gonna. It doesn't matter what clip we post. Like, it's so always gonna be like that.
Yeah.
Because it's funny because they are commenting that like as if it's one of those like. I like Chipotle better because Qdoba, but like this podcast is actually like fucking sick. But like unless you watch the full thing, you just wouldn't know.
Yeah, but no, I mean that's the thing is like we're just making this podcast mainly for us, and then also for like y'all, the people in the Discord who have so many questions, who are always like, you know, because we're just not putting out as many YouTube videos right now,
right?
And there's a lot of things that y'all want to know, and I think having the Discord for Sound Lodge is so fun for y'all to like for the people who are actually invested in this podcast. They get an answer every week because like that channel's not that filled up. So go fill up the Ask Us Questions channel.
Yeah, ask questions in the channel.
The funny thing was one of the people, I'm not going to name drop, but one of the people who said, bro, we should start a podcast is actually an artist that like I've listened to before.
Really?
Yeah, and he's like pretty big.
That's crazy.
Which is kind of funny.
I saw there was a couple people that commented that had a decent amount of followers, and I was surprised at that.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is about that is that's a perfect example of you might see comments on other people's posts that are like, I wouldn't say negative, but maybe just not like super positive comments. And you're like, oh, I shouldn't post this. But if out of those 1,000 people that watch it, 2 people come and actually watch the podcast, that's a good thing, you know? And it's like, welcome to the podcast. Like that's the goal of posting the shorts, you know?
Totally. One of the comments was also, well, they also just said like me, because they like agreed with what we said.
I saw that too.
It was also interesting reading those because there were quite a few, and it didn't really affect me that much, just because I've had hate comments like throughout the past 5 years of uploading consistently on YouTube, and I've kind of learned how to just channel it out.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's so easy to just see something and be like, these guys, I mean, like, they're really not that much in the wrong to say something like that, because this podcast isn't big.
Right.
So like if you see it from the outside, you're kind of like, who do these guys think they are?
Yeah.
But the thing is that we're really not doing it we're not trying to like blow this podcast up.
Well, that's the thing also is like I just have fun doing it. So like I really don't care about what anybody else thinks. And also, we have fun filming these every week, and we work hella hard on it too. So I think there's really not much that anybody can say when you have that kind of self-confidence in yourself and the projects that you work on. And that's why it's really important to get to that point where you are confident about this, just everything you do, you know?
Yeah. I mean, this podcast is going to be up for like forever. We're going to always be making these episodes, and they're only going to get bigger. And at some point pretty soon too, I feel like we're going to start getting guests on here, which those are going to be the heavy hitter kind of episodes. It's just talking. But the good thing is that this is our 13th episode. We're getting a lot better at doing podcasts. Like just going back to that first episode, it was very difficult to like get the ideas across and talk clearly. And I would even be like nervous before the episodes. But I feel like it's nice that we're getting the reps in before we start having some guests on. Totally.
And the thing is too, it took us almost 15 episodes to figure out doorbell. I wonder if that picked that up. On like the microphones. Solicitor coming to the door.
Solicitor.
It took us almost 15 episodes to actually get the formula down for how we wanted the podcast to be.
Yeah, true.
And so I'm glad that we posted the clips that we did before, because I mean that if you missed that, we're uploading clips now of the podcast and getting on that vibe. Because I think it'll definitely help spread the podcast and everything.
It's interesting. They get a lot of views.
Yeah.
Like podcast clips just, I don't know why they do so well.
Something about it. Something about podcast clips in short form, people just really like for some reason. Or whether they like it or or they hate it, they just watch it at least.
Yeah.
Well, dude, even the things where it's like the kids who are talking about like food or whatever in the podcast, I watch those.
Yeah.
Like I don't enjoy it, but I think it's funny to just watch them and see the clips or whatever. So something about that is just innately magnetizing to human beings to just watch podcast clips. But so we are back to uploading clips and everything now. And they are a lot better now because we've figured out the whole formula for how we set up the lighting and the cameras and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to do that, and I'm just excited in general about how much the podcast has grown and how much we've grown as podcasters. It's weird to say that word, but as like people who make podcasts.
I'm really excited to start talking to some artists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be really cool. I think they could provide some really valuable insight too.
Totally. And I think the cool thing is that we should start doing it now because we're not going to get huge artists, but there's a lot of artists that I listen to that aren't big that I would love to see a 60-minute interview and just get to know them.
Right.
And because it'd be like, oh, I didn't know other people knew of this person. So we kind of do have the access to those kind of artists.
Right. And it's also cool because that kind of forms a pretty niche community as well, because you're able to get the people who also had that feeling of like, oh, I didn't know that other people knew about this guy. Yeah. And this is the only outlet they have to learn more about this artist that they like. They come to our interview and then they're kind of have an emotional tie to our stuff, which is cool. And I think that's kind of how you build a community around like indie artists and stuff like that, which is cool. So yeah, I'm excited to start doing that.
I like how much we're focusing on Sound Lodge this year.
Yeah, me too. And it's nice because we have done it in a way where it doesn't feel super taxing because we just have it kind of as a schedule. Yeah. And we just know this is Tuesday's the day we film, Friday's the day we upload, and we do the thumbnails, we do the clips, we do all that kind of stuff. So we have it down to a kind of more of a science now, instead of just randomly filming the podcast whenever we feel like it. And I like doing it weekly too. It kind of gives you something to look forward to, I feel like, in a way. And also I feel like for the people who actually enjoy listening to the podcast, it kind of gives them something to look forward to on a Friday too. They know it's going to drop, and it's a cool thing. I always like anytime I get invested or involved with like a show or a podcast or whatever, I just get excited. Like I know like the day it's going to drop, like I'm like, yes, I have something that I'm going to be able to listen to today.
Yeah. Friday mornings.
So yeah, if that's you, leave a comment and say, I'm that guy who gets excited for your podcast.
Say that.
And then give us a thumbs up emoji.
And a squid emoji.
Yeah, and a squid emoji.
I don't even know if there is one. But if there is.
Or maybe octopus. Do an octopus if there's no squid.
Octopus giving the thumbs up.
Yeah. We'll be able to surmise that. Just however you manage to put that together.
We'll shout y'all out in the next episode.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
So
that's why we have a candle here, because we're actually going to burn that live on the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, we're really excited about Sound Lodge and the podcasts, and then we're also just very passionate about merch and making clothing and just making some cool stuff. We both made new designs. So we have the OG, just Sound Lodge Essential drop on the store. Those are always going to be live. So if you ever want this hat, black or brown, or I'm wearing the t-shirt right now, the black t-shirt, those are always available, so you can always cop those. But we're going to be occasionally making cool designs. I made this little design of this fish. I'm very proud of it. And we ordered the teaser because it's on a trucker hat, which I think is so cool. Yeah. And it's a cool hat. But so we go through a third-party website.
Yeah.
And that comes with
almost a name drop there.
Yeah. There's actually two different ones that start with that, so nobody knows.
Someone's getting slandered though.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we go through another company that does the merch for us because that was easier for us than trying to get some sort of screen printing device or figure out that whole ordeal.
Which we actually are looking to get into.
We are, yeah. Eventually we're going to get into that and maybe go through like manufacturers or whatever, do it the better way. But we're going through like a kind of a print on demand service, and there's just a lot of things that they don't do well, and there's a lot of things that we just run into quite a few problems going through them. But you can't really see it. Actually, Coleman will probably put a little picture of a close up. But long story short, they put red in our design for literally no reason, and it looks super ugly. And it just turned out just horribly. And then we were like, hey, this is actually insane that you would put red in our all-white design. And they're like, well, this is like what you guys wanted, essentially. Yeah. But they gave us a refund, which was really nice of them. And they do things from time to time that are pretty cool of them.
Some things that are pretty shady.
Yeah, some things that are pretty messed up.
Well, you could have talked about that. But,
true.
I mean, long story short, it gets annoying sometimes because we made these designs like almost 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy to think about. I'm not good with time. It might have been a month ago.
Something like that.
I mean, it's been almost 2 months because it took 2 weeks to get these.
I think it's been like a month because I got back from Chicago basically a month ago today.
Okay.
So
I'm not good with months.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
but essentially a month though. We've been waiting a month to get all this together, and it's still not even going to be ready for another like 2 weeks or something.
Exactly.
So it just takes so much more time because we have to kind of rely on them to do their thing and ship the things to us, and then if it's wrong, then it just kind of sucks. So yeah, going through any sort of other company or third party or whatever is always going to create more problems. But if we had $1 bajillion, we would do it the best, most highest quality possible.
That's another thing is like, we're very excited about these merch drops, but we just have like no money. So every time we get these like testers, we always have to be like, is this worth it?
Yeah.
Should we put more money into this account?
Yeah.
But it's fun, man. It's very enjoyable. I'm really excited to make this drop because these are some really cool designs and clothings.
I agree. I'm really excited for everybody to be able to get their hands on the epic new designs and everything. So yeah, I think it's I just am really passionate about Sound Lodge and everything that we do with it. And it frustrates me because I just want everything to be the best that it could possibly be. But that just takes time. Like we literally just talked about that, how our first episodes of the podcast were not great. We were just kind of, saying what we were saying. And there was really no structure to it. And that's kind of how stuff is for a long time until you kind of get the ball rolling and get things figured out. So it'll be like that, and we'll grow and develop and get better over time. So
to those of you who are listening to this right now as I'm saying these words, shouts out to you, because that's a pretty cool thing that you've been here since the ground floor. We're still figuring things out, but
day one supporters. Yeah, and we love all you guys. You guys are awesome. And anyways,
let's talk about music.
Speaking of which, we're gonna answer your guys' questions in this video here today. This episode. It might not be a video for some of you because some of you are audio only. Which actually, I'm curious if you're listening right now, leave a comment down below wherever that you might be listening. Do you only listen to the audio or do you watch the videos?
Let's make that the episode question. Yeah, because we usually forget to do those. So let's just secure that right now.
Yeah, true. Hey guys, this is the episode question for the video.
Go ahead and head over to the Discord and ask us questions there. Really fill up that channel. Ask dumb questions, ask smart questions. There's no smart or dumb questions.
Yeah, I just ask questions in general.
But we specifically went through all the questions and chose questions that relate to our music taste because a lot of y'all are curious about that, which is pretty cool. So let's kick it off with götze. He says, what are some of your favorite album covers of all time?
A good question.
Now, these questions, I have a notes page that I'm going to be referring to. Yeah. Because, like, just earlier podcasts and stuff like that, having questions like this that really take time to think, I always will watch back and be like, oh, I should have said this thing, you know?
And that's still going to happen.
Yeah, no, totally.
We're going to leave out a bunch of ones, but we were able to compile a list of some album covers that I like. And also, it's cool. It's a good question, too, because it's not what are your favorite albums. It's like specifically the art of the album covers.
We're going to be getting into albums, too, just musically. But artfully.
Specifically just the cover. The coolest covers of albums.
So, should we each do 5?
Yeah.
Let's each do 5. And
because I've got plenty more than 5, but
I have like 8. But we're each going to do 5, and then I think this will be cool. Y'all choose in the comments on the YouTube video and on the Spotify. Y'all choose what cover art you think is the coolest out of the 10 that we're going to give you.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
And just do it solely off of don't do it off the music, solely off of the cover art. How you like it. Okay. See, one of these is just like legendary status, but I don't think I should go for that.
That's fair.
I'm just going after taste. So I'm going to skip.
I say just whichever ones are actually your favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go with Bon Iver. It's right there.
That's a good one.
Viva La Vida. That one's just nostalgia. Bon Iver, I really like that one because it's that one inspired me to like paint my own cover arts. Yeah. Also, shout out to Still Woozy. His wife paints his cover arts. That was also a big inspiration for me to paint all my cover arts.
Yeah, it's super cool.
So both of those.
That one's like some Bob Ross shit though. So yeah, I like that one a lot.
Yeah, it's really cool. I also like how like the edges are frayed. I like that one.
Yeah, super cool.
Viva La Vida I think is just really cool. How it's like a painting and then the text Like, I'm not a big fan of text on cover arts, but that one is just done so artfully.
Yeah, I think honestly, I'm not a big fan of text on cover arts when it comes to people who have like sub 1,000 monthly listeners.
Yeah.
But anybody else, they usually have like somebody who knows something about graphic design doing it.
Exactly. So. I'm between either Swimming or Circles from Mac Miller. Mac DeMarco.
One of the Macs.
I'm trying to think. Does Mac DeMarco have any cover arts that are worthy?
I have one written down here. Actually.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fun.
I may not mention it, but it's This Old Dog. The one that has all the little drawings.
That's the yellow one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's really cool.
Yeah, I don't think I'll put that in my list, but that is one.
I think I'm going to go with Swimming for that one. So I have 3 so far. Swimming is just really cool. All white. A lot of negative space. And then you have this rectangle in the middle, and his feet are like coming out of it. And it's just it's like from an airplane. Very cool.
Yeah.
Cover art.
I like Circles as an album better, but I like the cover art for Swimming better, I think.
And then I'm going to go with Welcome Home from Aries. I think that's a really very creative cover art. I like how he's silhouetted all black, and then you have, that one's also up there.
Yeah.
And then you have like this kind of gradient of color on the right. It's just a very creative cover art.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So that's 4. And then probably going to go with Blonde. I really like that. I really like the baby blue. And then it's just very creative with the text up top and then the little disclaimers at the bottom and then just like the picture of him.
That's the one where he's like...
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that cover art too.
Those are my 5.
I'm not a Frank Ocean guy, but I like that cover art. I think he has cool cover arts.
Yeah, he does.
All right, let me pull up my 5. Okay, first one is Texas Sun and Texas Moon. The EP, I think they're EPs by Krungbin and Leon Bridges. Just so cool. Those are both awesome.
Very cool art style.
Yeah,
like totally. All solid. What kind of art style is that?
I don't know. There's a name for it. If you know it, leave it in the comments. But those are super cool cover arts. This isn't one, but I wrote down like any TV Girl album cover because those are just all so cool. Like he just has such a cool style, this stuff. But I'm not going to count that. Also, In Rainbows by Radiohead. I think if I had to pick, like there's some Radiohead albums, like I think OK Computer I like better. And honestly, the Bends I like better. But it's so hard to pick. I just am such a Radiohead fanboy that I can't pick like a favorite album. But In Rainbows I think has the coolest cover art. I think it's badass. Also, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, but I think it's the deluxe edition where instead of just that girl with like the star, it's like a bunch of different stuff on the cover art. And I think that one is just so cool. Oh, Steve Winwood, Arc of a Diver. That one is so cool.
Yeah, you showed me that one.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to choose Beatopia by Biba Doobie.
That one's pretty cool.
That one's awesome. How it's just like a bunch of like scribbly drawings and everything. I like that one a lot. There's other albums that I have on here, but I think those are the ones I'm just going to go with for now. That's what I'm feeling right now in this current moment.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to look back and be like, I should have said that one. Yeah, that one's actually my favorite. But yeah, I think, those are all some solid picks. You kind of crate dug there.
Yeah.
I like your picks. Pretty interesting. Kind of all over the place too.
I have a few, some random ones. I had Gregory Allen, Empty Northern Hemisphere on there.
Yeah.
That cover's so awesome, man.
Yeah,
like
I was going through,
kind of
I mean, he's my favorite artist. I was trying to pick one of his for favorite cover art, but I think he has cool cover arts, but it's nothing like that really blows my mind.
The other cover arts of his, they suck.
Really?
Yeah. In my opinion, I don't like any of them.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say that like I like hate them, but I don't think they're like the coolest cover art ever kind of status. I think they're just like it's a cover, and it works as a cover.
I like the Weatherman one. I think that one's cool. With
it's
the
all right.
Big balloon, and then also his new album. I will say that
one's cool. Yeah, I like that one.
I think that's probably my least favorite.
I do like that one though. But it's definitely not his usual vibe of cover art. But I think Empty Northern Hemisphere is super cool. That one's awesome. I love just like the purple with the like cutout.
Yeah, it's cool colors.
So yeah, those are our favorite album covers, and there's a bazillion more that we could probably choose. But that's the vibe right now.
Yeah, I think it's also cool how passionate you and I are about cover arts.
Yeah, just art in general.
Yeah, it really influences the way that I listen to music.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, because I mean that's the first thing that the listener will consume.
Yeah.
Before, I mean, there might be an instance where they hear it like at the grocery store and they don't see the cover art, but most likely if they're going through Spotify, the first thing they consume before they even press play is the cover art.
Totally.
So if you have a cover art that really relates to the sound of the song, then it will just give a fuller experience to the listener.
Yeah, and I absolutely do judge albums based off of the cover art a lot of times. Like if I see a cover art where it's really cool, I'm gonna expect cool songs.
Yeah.
And then honestly, it never works out that way because the classic never judge a book by its cover kind of thing. It's definitely applicable because there'll be times when a really trash cover art has really good songs. I mean, kind of like the case of Gregory Allen, like all of the songs in those albums are great, but I'm not crazy about the cover art. And also certain albums, like I was not a fan of The Weeknd's new album cover art. Like I think it's just like weird. It's not like a super cool cover art or anything, but I thought it was a pretty good album.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other ones like that too, where the cover art's just like, I don't really care, but then the songs are really good. So. But yeah, so cover arts are pretty awesome actually, and I think it's important to make a good cover.
Yeah. Let us know out of those 10, what's your favorite?
Yeah,
just visually.
And let us know any other cover arts that you really like as well.
I think we should segue this into favorite albums of all time. Which
That's very hard to choose.
It's very difficult, and it's like, it's also, I don't want to answer it because I know that I'm going to look back and be like, I should have said this thing.
Yeah, and also it's going to be like, I'm going to say something like embarrassingly, like in a few years and be like, oh, dude, that's just the worst choice ever. But probably not. I don't know. I think,
yeah, that's the thing is like in 10 years, we probably will have different favorite albums.
I mean, music as a whole will probably sound totally different in 10 years anyway. So I think it's just very hard also for me because I have like a billion albums that come to mind. But there are a few that stick out in my head as like, these are incredibly important. And for me, I think it's also important to clarify how you judge a like best album of all time or like a favorite album of all time, because certain people have different qualifications for that. Like a lot of people really like an album that all flows as one cohesive thing, where it's like, okay, this song leads into the next one and it all like flows. And some people like an album where it's just one really good song, one really good song, one really good song. For me personally, I kind of judge it off of how many skips are on the album. Like if there is an album that is absolutely zero skip, I think that's considered one of the best albums to me. Because there are not a lot of albums like that where I absolutely would never skip any one of the songs. And they're all awesome. But even honestly, barring that as well, there's some albums where the majority of the songs are no skips, but there's like one or two that I skip, and I still consider them really good albums. So it's tough, and I think also it has to do with if the album has like sentimental value to you as well, because certain people, certain songs or albums are going to mean more to them and not the same to me because it happened at a certain period in their life or whatever kind of stuff like that. So it's it's an interesting thing. But yeah, what would you say?
Just piggybacking off of what you said about like how people listen to albums and how they judge them. Another big thing is storytelling.
Right.
Like going from song one to the last song, having the listener feel like it's one not only sonically cohesive album, but also like they've gone through a journey. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of cool albums like that, but I don't really it's not that important to me.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't hold a lot of weight with me. They're like, I think it's cool when that people do that, but it's not like a make or break thing for me. Like I don't hear an album and I'm like, this needs to have a cohesive story throughout the whole thing.
Totally. I mean, storytelling is a huge thing for me, but I think it's just on a solo basis, like on each song. And the biggest thing for me is like sonically how everything sounds, which is,
if it sounds cohesive overall.
It's music, so that should be pretty important.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the story is important though too, and I think that is a perfectly valid thing for people to judge albums off of, and that if that is like a big thing for you, I think it's, in my opinion, it's a little bit weird for that to be like a make or break thing. But I think people who do that well should receive like credit for it because it's a very cool thing to do.
Now, I do want all of the songs to have the same vibe.
Yeah, totally.
Like that's to have like a very happy song and then a very sad song, and they just don't even relate to each other at all, like that's not a good album.
Yeah.
So like having them all sonically and theme-wise have the same message, but it doesn't have to be like song 1 is when they first started doing this thing, and then song like 3 they do this thing, and then the last song it finally ends with them doing this thing. Like I don't really need that, but I do need all the songs to be related in some way.
Yeah, well, to be honest, there's a lot of rap albums and stuff where they will have totally different vibes throughout the whole thing. Like some of them will be like, I was just listening to the T Grizzly album, and half of the songs are like, I'm gonna shoot you, and the other half of the songs are like, we're gonna have sex. So like he just switches those vibes. Like he's got like Mariah the Scientist, and like I don't think he had SZA, but like people like that, like R&B singers. It's like R&B vibe. And it's like sexy R&B, and then it's like, well, I'm riding around with guns and you're gonna get shot in the face. So for like some people that maybe that's cool, but like me personally, even on a rap album like that, if I am going to a T Grizzly album because I want to hear him talk about shooting people in the face, that's what I want. Like I don't want to hear Mariah the Scientist on your song. So I agree with you. I think that like your whole album, regardless of genre or whatever, should have like a pretty cohesive vibe throughout the whole thing. But yeah, I think an artist that I think does the storytelling thing really good that really comes to my mind is, and this sounds so corny saying this, but Logic on his, I forget the album name, but it's the one where he's in outer space. Yeah. And the cover art is him in outer space. That album does that so well.
Yeah, well, he goes into like the skits, because that also used to be a huge thing with rap albums.
Totally.
Is like just telling a story that way and having some songs just be full skits.
Yeah, but he also is just a perfect example of an artist overall. Like I think him and like Tyler the Creator and people like that are just not artists in just a music sense, but like an overall artist. Like they are an artistic person. Yeah. And so he writes movie scripts and he writes books and he does all that kind of stuff. And maybe sometimes they're not good, but
I will never forgive him. I was never a big
for the Mac DeMarco.
Yeah, for him slandering Mac DeMarco beats.
Yeah, that was just horrendous. Like he just bastardized 2 Mac DeMarco beats. And
they were such good beats too, man.
Yeah. But Mac DeMarco is such a chill guy. But yeah, those were horrendous. But yeah, I think like the fact that he just goes and tries whatever is really cool. And
I agree.
With those original albums, like what is it? The Incredible True Story, maybe that's what it's called. I think that might be what it's called. But that album was incredible. And the way that he told the story throughout that, like I really appreciated that. And that like kind of made that album for me. So in that particular case, it's cool.
But I really do like when songs blend into each other.
Yeah.
Like so if you play on Spotify and you just close your eyes, it feels like one big song. Yeah. Like that's, I always do that whenever I make like more than 3 songs together. I just export all of the masters, bring them into a separate project, and then add tracks in between each master and have it like blend in smoothly. Like maybe a little rain sample that fades in at the end of one song, fades out at the other.
It's really all you need.
Yeah. Or just doing like some reverse note that goes in. Totally. I think that's a little icing on the cake for me.
I think it kind of makes it seem like you care about the album instead of just being like, here's a track. Yeah. It's more like you put effort and you put time into the creation that you made, which I think is really cool. Anyways, all that to say,
we're trying to buy time to think of some albums.
Yeah, we just talk about like how this is basically how I think about the best albums.
This isn't what I think are the best albums. Yeah, let's clarify that.
Just your favorite albums.
Yeah, these are like personal favorite.
Yeah, I agree.
Albums.
I have 2 different lists for like what I think are the greatest albums of all time and albums that I think are my favorite. Like, my greatest albums of all time.
I totally agree.
And there is some overlap too between those 2 lists. Like there are albums that just are I would say unanimously like the greatest albums ever, and I also just love them too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely a good clarification to make. That these are just kind of our favorite albums.
Yeah, I think. Because I mean, we could even get even more specific and have like favorite albums and then most influential and like most nostalgic. Right. But I think we should just blend it all in.
Yeah,
blend it all into like these are just our favorite albums.
Yeah, I think it should be a combination of albums that are very inspiring and also albums that are just like you enjoy and maybe don't take inspiration up from, but like everything that culminates into just these are your favorite ones.
Should we do 3? Top 3?
That's just so hard. Yeah, we can try to stick to 3. I just have so many.
I'm confident. about Circles, Mac Miller.
Mm-hmm.
That's in my top 3. I think it's number 1. It changes all the time, but
that's like your number 1 favorite album.
I think of all time. Yeah. I think that album just dropped at a very, like, it really related to me when it dropped. And I remember I just listened to it nonstop. And it's just, and the cool thing about that album is like all the songs are pretty sad, but there's also some upbeat songs in there.
Yeah.
And John,
it's really cool. John Brion is
John Brion, I mean, he also just like kind of influenced the way Mac Miller sounded, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just so tragic that he passed, because like to drop that album, and it's my favorite album of all time, because I was never into his frat rap kind of era.
Me neither.
But Swimming, one of my favorite albums. That's definitely top 20. And that was when he started getting into more. Divine Feminine is also another one. But
yeah, that's got some cool songs.
Yeah, he like slowly transitioned into more of like a pop, like R&B sound. And then Swimming is just like, the production in that album is so good, man. So I'd probably say that's number 1. Blonde, Frank Ocean. We differ here. That was also an album that dropped like, I think when I was in high school, but I just had that album on repeat in my room 24/7. Totally influenced the way that I make music. I remember I used to make slowed and reverb remixes of songs, and I did like 10 of his.
Yeah, and they probably sounded better than the original.
Well, the cool thing is they sounded normal, because a lot of times he slows and reverbs his own music. But yeah, that album is just so good. The fact that he hasn't dropped music in so long is tragic.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and he doesn't have an excuse. He didn't overdose or anything, so he should still be making music.
Okay. Those are 2. And then I'm probably going Empty Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Gregory.
That is such a great album, man.
That's I definitely know that's my favorite album from his, who is my favorite artist. So I kind of have to put that on the list.
Very true. That one is, that's by far my favorite album from him. But he has just so many great songs, man. It's crazy. But those are good picks. The first one that comes to mind for me is Astral Weeks by Van Morrison. Because that album came out, or it didn't come out. Sorry, that was ridiculous. But I listened to it a bunch, and it became new to me. And it became sentimental to me when my little sister, my oldest little sister, was being born, and we would just listen to that like on repeat.
That's so
because
cool.
It was like that. I don't know, for whatever reason we were just listening to it a bunch. But then also it would like really calm her down when she was like a baby and like fussy and stuff. So we would just play that a bunch. And I just remember playing on PlayStation 2 Harry Potter and Half-Blood Prince. And I would just play that, and the album would be playing, and so I just have like a forever like tie to that. But that album also just is incredible. And if you look up people's stupid like greatest albums of all time lists or whatever, that one is usually on there, because that album is absolutely incredible. Just the musicianship is unreal, and honestly, I think that album sounds like nothing has ever sounded like it again. I think it's an incredible album. So that one's up there for me. I also think I'm gonna have to say Ways to Get Out as well.
Really?
Yeah, because that album is just classic, like no skip.
No misses for sure.
And Far Caspian is just my favorite artist ever. So
that's my favorite album of his.
Yeah.
How many albums does he have? Because he has a lot of EPs.
I think he has mostly EPs, and Ways to Get Out is his first album, and then
his new album with like the Sunroom song, the green one.
Sunroom is that's the last one. That was Ways to Get Out, I think. But I think that might have been Ways to Get Out Deluxe or something. But what is the name of the new album, man?
It has a name.
Yeah, whatever the new album's called. It's gonna bother me now. I have to look it up. Also, what I like about Far Caspian is that he makes singles that he doesn't put on the album sometimes too, which is really cool. And I think not enough artists do that, where they just drop music just because they're like, I like this song as a single. But yeah, so that one's on there. Ways to Get Out. And then I don't really know. I'm trying to think of like what albums really influenced me. Favorite albums too. I don't know. It's really tough to choose.
I mean, recently, you really like Charm.
Yeah, actually, that is a very, very, very valid one.
I love that album.
That album is actually incredible.
Baytopia as well.
The fact that it didn't win a Grammy is absurd. The Grammys are a joke, man.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah, I think I'll just go with that one because I'm trying to think, and I'm struggling to think of like full albums that I really like.
No Radiohead in there?
Yeah, well, I'm not picking a Radiohead because I would say like 3.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, that's valid.
I would say OK Computer, The Bends, and In Rainbows I all like equally pretty much. And so it's really hard to choose a specific one. But yeah, I would probably go with I'll go with Charm because I think that's a total no skip album.
Mm-hmm.
Every single song on there is not just like this is cool. It's like it's incredible.
Yeah.
So I'll go with that one. I think I'm confident in that decision.
There we go.
There we go. Let's try 3.
Top 3. Yeah, I'm confident that I actually won't be looking back on this and changing.
Yeah. I think I will probably change something out for the Claire album just because I'll think of something that is more influential to me or whatever. But I think those are pretty solid choices.
Yeah, I'm confident my 3 are in my top 5 or in my top 10. So that's
100%
fine with me.
I agree. I don't think that'll ever change for mine either.
I don't know if we mentioned that was from Eli Secret Demos. Thank you. I mean, I'll put the screenshot in there regardless, but thanks for the question.
Eli Secret Demos. That was a good question.
Okay, so this is a fun one talking about albums. Götze says, so far I've listened to an album or occasional EP every day this year and have no plans on slowing down. Give me 2 must listen to albums recommendations each. Well, I mean, you've had 6 albums that we just listed.
Yeah.
For our favorite of all time.
Listen to all those.
But
I think I'm sure probably a lot of those you have listened to.
Yeah, for sure. But let's go recent albums that we've been listening to.
Mm-hmm. The first one that comes to mind for me that I think everybody should listen to is Wildorado or Wildorado. I don't know which way you say it. I want to say in my head say Wildorado because it's like Silverado.
Yeah.
But whichever way you say that, Talker is actually like one of the best albums I've heard in recent time. Yeah. So that is a must listen album.
They're from Tulsa.
Yeah, they are from Tulsa. I think that's really cool that they're Oklahomans, fellow Oklahomans. So definitely absolutely listen to that album because you need to. And
I ain't much of a talker.
Ooh, but I get by.
We're getting copyright struck because we're such good singers.
Yeah, it sounds exactly like the record. So that one's incredible. And I also have been listening to Past Life, the Daywave album, very, very muchly recently. That's not a new album or anything, but I've just been listening to it a lot. So that's probably what I would say. Those 2 for me.
I like both of those a lot. They have a similar sound too, which is pretty cool. Somewhat similar. I like Wildorado because they have a very kind of country twang to the indie sound, which is very cool.
That's really why I like that Lose song by like Ryman or whatever. That also has a similar vibe. It's like indie rock but mixed with kind of country folky vibe.
Very cool.
Actually,
he's from Nashville, so
yeah, I saw that. Also, this actually Noah Blisslip told me about this a while ago, but people are calling it y'alternative, which actually makes me want to like chop my own head off because that's so cringe. And it's definitely a TikTok thing that somebody invented. But yeah, I just really like that whole kind of like indie drums and indie guitars and stuff mixed with those like folky elements, kind of like lo-fi'd out vibe. And I think that's a cool like sonic thing that's going on.
I mean, speaking of y'alternative, it made me think of Watch House. What's that album? Wildfire? I know that's the song in the album, but the one where there's fire. I'll put it up.
I love the one with the little house on it too. That album.
Yeah, I think that was their first album.
They're so good. Honestly, also I will say that cover sucks. I did not like
the
that
house
cover.
one.
Yeah, that cover's so bad.
I really like the fire one.
Yeah, I like the fire one, but I will. Yeah, that cover art is just no.
Yeah.
It looks very, very like I probably could have made a better cover art.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, definitely check out Watch House to go to. I think you'll like them.
Watch House is awesome. I would I would listen to their just discography as a whole because they don't have that much music.
Yeah, but I mean
But they've got some really cool stuff.
Summer's Over, TV Girl, Jordana. That's in my top 5 favorite albums of all time.
Yeah. That's a good one to listen to at like fall time, like when summer is ending.
Yeah,
I always love listening to Summer's Over, the specific song Summer's Over when it's fall time.
Yeah, I love that. That's also a cool cover art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier, all of his cover arts are like that, which is cool.
They're so cool. He has a really good style with his cover arts.
And then I'd probably say that I've been listening to recently, it was a huge inspiration for my little EP was Older, Lizzie McAlpine.
Yeah, that's great. That was a huge inspiration for me too. And honestly, not even as much as the album as the documentary was. The documentary
was so cool.
I just saw, and that inspired me so much.
Yeah.
But it also made me like the album even more too.
For sure.
Because that is an incredible album. I think that like, if we're talking best albums of last year.
If we're talking best albums of all time.
Best albums of all time, Lizzie McAlpine's in there, yeah. No. That is such an incredible album, though.
It really is.
She does some goofy vocal things, though, here and there that I'm not.
She's got some theater girl in her, which that's just her.
It's fine, yeah. Just some of the lines where she's like, he leans out of the car and he's smoking a cigarette and he says, "I don't smoke these," and it just like doesn't even fit with the guitar at all.
I mean,
it's cool.
Phoebe Bridgers has got a grip on a lot of female vocalists out there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like the majority of people who make Lizzie McAlpine type music are all inspired by Phoebe Bridgers. But now, honestly, I think a lot of people who make that type of music are very much inspired by Lizzie McAlpine.
Very true,
well.
yeah.
Like
Phoebe Bridgers hasn't dropped a song in a while.
Yeah, I know. What the heck? Get on that, man.
That would be on my list for Punisher cover arts. That's a really cool cover.
I actually had that in mine as well.
Really?
Yeah. Also, I was gonna say that cover art is so similar to the Dominic Fike cover. Did you ever notice that?
Yeah, I mean, I have both right there.
Yeah, there's like the same thing. You have them fit into each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always
it's like the same mountain.
Yeah, I always thought how weird that was. They basically have the same cover art.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was when they were dating.
Yeah.
You were like, I see your face change so much. You're like, yes, no, what?
I had to like read to see if you were joking. It took me a second because I don't keep up with that kind of shit. So I was like, there's no way, man. You got to be joking. I don't think he's her type, or vice versa.
No, those are some recommendations from us.
Yeah,
just recent albums we've been on. For her to hear.
Yeah.
Cool thing.
Yeah, listen to that.
Yeah.
Listen to Zolan Fizo's Christmas album.
True, man. Also, new album coming from this guy pretty soon here.
Yeah, true. Listen to that
It'll be very cool.
Whatever, if you want to. Don't actually.
You feel like it? I
don't even care anymore. I don't even want to be around anymore.
Great question, Götze. Also, that's really cool that you're listening to an album every day.
Yeah, props to listening, because that would take a lot of mental bandwidth to every day sit down and listen to an album.
Yeah, and I'm the type of listener who, like, if the first 4 songs haven't captivated me, I'm not listening to the rest of the album, which sucks.
Agree. And honestly, sometimes that happens. Like, I think I've talked about that, but Phoebe Bridgers, I didn't even like. I listened to whatever the album that Motion Sickness is on. I listened to that album like 3 times before I actually liked it.
Yeah.
And then it just took me the right time and the right headspace to like actually absorb it properly, and then I realized how good it was. But sometimes it's just like that. You need to listen.
It's weird, man. The psychology behind like liking music.
Yeah, the psychology of music, just in general, is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are good album suggestions. And yeah, I could not do that.
Yeah.
Because I would totally if I was listening to albums that much, I would miss albums that are probably good by doing exactly what you're saying. Where I listen to a few songs, don't like them, or I'm not crazy about them, and then I just immediately rule out the album as like, okay, it's not good.
Yeah.
And so for me, a lot of times if I'm listening to an album, or like a new album comes out, it takes me like 3 days to actually properly go through it. Like I'll listen the first time, I'm like, okay, this song's kind of good. And then I'll go back and listen. I'm like, okay, these songs are really good. And now I know all the songs, and then I'll listen to it again and figure out which songs I actually really like.
Yeah. Great question, Götze. Next question is from Zombie X Leader. They say, who's an artist you guys listen to that you think is super underrated?
That's a good question. I have quite a few of those. We made a list for that one?
Yeah, I made a list for this one because this is one that we both realized making these lists. Like, man, my taste isn't that unique.
Yeah, I know.
It definitely was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
When I was like into indie music before a lot of people were.
Right.
But now indie music is like pop music, which I mean, I don't want to be that guy who's like, I wasn't a fan of it. I don't want to be that guy, but it does kind of suck when you're like, man, I love this artist. I think I'm kind of on earlier, and you check their monthlies and it says like 1 million monthly listeners.
Yeah, man. Well, I think part of that is also just the availability of information on the internet now. everybody has all of the information of everything, and especially because of like TikTok and short form content and stuff, like there's things that you like. The fitness community is the thing that I first think of as well, where like everybody has access to all of this information about like exercises that you can do at the gym that nobody would know of otherwise, and like the best, most optimal techniques and things like that. And it's like, I didn't even know that anybody else would know about this kind of stuff, but because it just can be mass produced and spread to everybody everywhere now, just everybody knows about it. And I feel like music is kind of a similar way, where if it's good, people are going to catch on to it. And so like Men I Trust now, they have like 10 million monthly or whatever, and like back in the day, I remember when they had like 100K. So it's really crazy how much that kind of music has grown, and I think just it has become kind of like a personality to like indie music as well. Like it's kind of like one of the TikTok cult of personality things. So which is cool. I mean, it's good. Like I'm glad that the artists that I like are successful, and Buddy's barking super loudly. He's been on a barking spree.
Yes, man.
Days. Yes, we're just talking about
we were talking about something, Buddy barked, I just shot him with a trank gun, and let's get back into the episode.
I think it's really cool that all the artists that I've been following for so long are now gaining more success. And it's cool to see. But also there's the part of me that's like, that's my thing. Nobody else could know about them.
Yeah, I also hate, like, part of me when the songs come on, it's always like, I want to find a way to let these guys know that I was here before, you know, but you just don't want to be that guy.
I'm not fans like you. I've been a fan for a long time. Like, I remember when I found out about them back in like, 2016. Yeah, just way before you probably did.
You ever heard their solo project, actually?
That's a classic one. Actually, before they had a singer in the band, they made like basically lo-fi music.
Just the worst person ever, but it's me.
Yeah, it's literally me. I do that all the time.
All right. Let me kick this off with the band Willa.
That's a really good one.
Sub 100K.
That's surprising.
I was going through all these artists, expected them to all be there because that was where they were at when I found them. Yeah. And
not anymore.
Only the band Willa. This was one. This is probably my favorite. I think most underrated. And you actually showed me them. Kenny Titus.
Yeah, I have that one down.
You do?
Kenny Titus is awesome, man. Very surprising that she doesn't have more listeners.
Yeah.
Because she is very talented.
Very talented. I think she's watching. If she is, let's make a song together.
Yeah.
Evangeline is another one.
That's a really good one.
She collabs with Wolfman a lot.
That's kind of another one.
Is in the band with Wolf Peck, but he has like close to 1 million, I think.
True. But still, I feel like underrated though.
I agree. Yeah, I mean,
for all the other stuff that he does is really cool.
Yeah, absolute bangers. I also like how he does everything. Like he's an indie artist, but he's huge.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
And then another one is Choker, Choker's an artist that I listened to, like one of my favorite artists like 4 years ago, around when Frank Ocean was my favorite artist. Choker, a lot of people say knock off Frank Ocean, but Choker, really cool production. I think he produces all of his music, but super just... If you like Frank Ocean, you should definitely check out Choker. Hasn't dropped a song in like 10 years, which sucks. Wow. I think it's been like 4 years again. I'm bad with time. Yeah, but so they only have 200K monthly, which is still surprised me because I was like, how in the world?
Yeah.
Jake Minch.
That's a good one.
Extremely underrated. A very cool songwriter.
Totally, like his songwriting abilities are the thing that he's very talented.
Yeah. I was going to say Far Caspian, but I think Far Caspian's big. So Sublit Somo.
That's a very good one, yeah.
Somo's very underrated. I love her voice.
I think Somo and Niall Somerton, who is drums for Far Caspian.
I never really got into Niall.
He's great. He's got some songs are like, not my favorite ever, but he just dropped an EP, and it's got 2 songs that are really, really good on it that I like a lot.
Yeah, I need to check it out. Yeah, I think
Far Caspian also is still pretty underrated, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think he only has, I think, like 600 or 700K monthly, which is like... I mean, that's up there. Like, that's pretty big.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you think about that, that's close to 1 million people in 1 month.
Yeah.
And that's just single people.
Yeah.
Like, that's not streams. Yeah. So it's hard to say that that's underrated. But again...
But he's not like Drake.
He is one of your favorite artists, and you think he makes the best music ever. So, like, naturally, you're going to be like, he should be one of the biggest artists out there.
Yeah, definitely. I think also, it's hard to say he's underrated because... his music's not for everybody too. Like it's a very specific sound. So I think he's He's rated.
Yeah,
he's just rated.
Yeah,
yeah. He's underrated to me. But yeah, those are good. Do you have any more, or that's your?
I'll stop there. There's a lot more.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more. There's a lot. I have a pretty big list too, but I'll read off mine. I have Far Caspian on there, just because naturally that's the first person I think of. But Wildorado is also another one. Like, I think the fact that they make as good of music as they do and are as underrated as they are is pretty incredible. I had Kenny Titus too. Marinelli is another one, and he's very underrated. Marinelli he has a lot of really good songs recently. Some of his earlier stuff I'm not a fan of, but he also kind of is more of a songwriter now. Like, he actually works with Phineas.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, and so
does he make like pop music?
He lives in LA. It's like indie music. Like, it's I'll show you some because it's definitely just the type of vibe that we like. And he's just not a super huge artist or anything. Like, I think he only has maybe like probably like sub 100K monthly, but he's very, very good, and he's a very talented songwriter, and he just works with like a lot of people in LA and stuff now, which is cool. Park Rangers, pretty cool band that I've found out about. They're like sub 100 monthly.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so they've got some really great songs. Small Forward is a band that I really like.
I don't know if I've heard of them.
You've probably heard a couple of the songs because I probably played them before, but they have like I think 100K monthly about, and they're a really cool indie band that I like a lot. They've got some dope songs. I think Aries is also very underrated.
He's got like 1 million.
No, he's got like 600K.
Really?
Yeah.
He's been dropping because he hasn't dropped a song in a while.
Yeah, that's probably why he's got much less. But I think he's really underrated because I feel like the music that he's making should be like mainstream. Like, it's good enough to be like everybody should know.
Yeah, if we're talking about like top 5 favorite artists when the lights go out, Believe in Me, Who Believes in You. I think that's top 5 or top 10. Also, just one of the most influential
for me.
Artists of all time for me, because he got me into YouTube, and then he also made me realize that I could go from YouTube to music.
Totally, yeah. I think just everything that he's done is incredibly inspiring. Hooligan Chase is another one. Hooligan Chase is, when people ask about like my favorite rappers, Hooligan Chase is always up there. I think he has like 140, 150K monthly, and it's shocking because he is just an incredible rapper. Like, when it comes to just like the way that he flows is incredible. Like, he just sounds so badass in all of his tracks, and he produces everything too.
Oh, that's sick.
So he makes all of his own beats, and his beats are just so good.
Really?
Incredible beats. So yeah, he's so underrated. And I actually, everybody who I've shown him to they're like, how does this guy not have more listeners? It's insane. But he also doesn't drop music like super often. But yeah, he's awesome. And then also, I think the biggest one for me is Logan Bowden / National Forest, because the fact that he is not like one of the biggest folk artists in the world is insane to me, because his music is just so incredibly good. And it's also like so good to the point where it's not just good because I think it's good. It's good to where I think it's mainstream quality good. Same with like Aries, where like that music, like everybody should know about it.
Yeah.
So those are 2 of my decisions as well. But yeah, that's my list right there. There's probably more that I could come up with, but those are the main ones.
Yeah. That was me just scrolling through like my random Spotify.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's going to be plenty more. We should update this maybe in a month.
Yeah.
Maybe not a month. Maybe a happy year.
Yeah.
Happy year.
Happy year.
We'll do it every happy years.
Every happy years.
Yeah, guys, that's how we do it at music, and we listen to it all the time. And if you listen to it too, I'm reading this, by the way, I wrote this down.
Yeah.
And if you're reading this too, then you should check us out and listen or what we're saying, and it's now or never to make it happen.
Yeah. And you should check out our podcast. It's called the Sound Lodge Podcast.
If you're listening to this right now, y'all should check out.
Yeah, I think if you're listening to this, you're really going to like our podcast.
If you like this, you're really going to like it.
You're going to love our podcast called the Sound Lodge, the Slodge Podcast.
Thank you guys for the questions. Remember to just be something that inspires something out of somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. And never forget to slodge it up. That's what I always say.
We say slodging.
We stay slodging up here. That's what we do, man. We slodge it up.
Stay slodging it up. Stay tuned for this hat when it doesn't have red in it, because why would there be red in our all-white design?
That actually makes literally no sense at all, and it looks pretty horrible.
Why did this company think it'd be cool to add red in our brown hats?
They were like, we have a little suggestion for you. We know from all the experience we have that this would look better.
Cool design. I think we can make it pretty cooler.
I think we can fuck it up a little bit by adding some red thread in there.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. That's what it's all about, baby.
You gotta love it. Yeah. And we're going to sell those to you guys.
Yeah. I'm so glad we ordered the testers. Man.
Yeah, that's why we ordered the testers.
Awful. Man. We started getting DMs from people.
Hey, why is this like this? This is horrendous. I don't know, man. It's just, that's the way we drew it up, man.
You ordered it. All sales are final.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, we wouldn't have done that if that was the case.
No. Yeah, that's why we try to, as much creative control as we can exercise to make everything the way that we want it. We're going to do that. So,
well, have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, have a good rest of your day if you're watching this in the daytime, or if it's nighttime, have a good rest of your nighttime.
Peace out. See y'all next week. Next Friday. Moaning.
Friday morning.
And if you're listening to this on Thursday, you can be like, what? There's a new episode tomorrow morning?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not keeping that in there.
Exactly like that.